Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and content and views that some listeners may find offensive. I said views, so I feel like mine might be a little controversial this episode.
Why
Not
do we
like
do
you.
this?
That's what I do. I drink wine and chat shit.
Yeah. Wine on a Monday.
That's how you know your life's in good order.
Yeah, just make sure that, you're disguising that because that might be perceived as benefits fraud.
No, I used my job to pay for this part.
But how do you know? Okay, let's roll the episode.
We should do one where Selina does the intro. See if it's any better.
That-
Selina hides away and pretends that she's not there.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
fair. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Seesaw Podcast, the show that will look at your accounts to make sure you are subscribing to us on all of the places you should be. We are going to be going into the pool of relevancy once again, not to date the episode, and we all know how well these episodes age as well. Like, not as fine as the wine that Cleaves is drinking.
Oh no, it's about that fine.
Not fine at all then.
Yeah. If it's less than £5 a bottle, you know it's not great.
No, that's true.
This is effectively my seesaw wine. It's like cooking wine, but kind of worse.
Cooking wine.
You never had cooking wine? It's like wine specifically for cooking.
Well, I see that now. I'm teetotal, so it's kind of not quite getting that. I'm more in the water, the H2O.
Oh, suppose you didn't get like a small
Yeah.
vial of cooking wine in your Hello Fresh box, whatever it is you
It's
get.
Gusto.
Gusto. Sorry.
It's
Just-
more pretentious. than
Actually, we've got
HelloFresh.
Mindful Chef tonight. We do
Oh,
normally have Gusto, but we got a deal on Mindful Chef. So yeah,
what
mixing
makes
it
them
up.
mindful?
The chefs.
Is it? It's not like vegan food or anything, or locally sourced, or that kind of stuff.
Comes with a 5-minute
Oh, it's all of
VHS
that.
meditation.
Yeah.
It's all of that and more.
Okay, great.
Right.
Let's crack straight into this stuff. Firstly, quick blind
Yeah.
news. In more relevant news, Selina, you go.
The quick blind news that we were just talking about.
Yeah, but longer. The medium length
Okay.
blind news.
It's kind of
This
big,
news.
hot off the press news released just 2 hours ago or so, as we're streaming live on Twitch. Obviously not 2 hours ago if you're listening on a Wednesday.
I'll replace the word hours with days for when the podcast comes out.
Brilliant. So the government has just released its 32 disability action plan. So there's 32 actions to make Great Britain the most accessible place for disabled people,
What in the world?
or maybe in the world.
Well, that's.
So-
I
Oh
mean, I don't
gosh,
know how
don't
they're going
sound
to do
too
that.
excited. Well,
I'm
they've got
excited.
32
Yeah, I'm
actions.
Any of that? Right. Okay.
Okay,
You've
go on.
read,
Do you want
you've
more?
read, you've read through this.
I haven't.
I've not read through this yet either. So I've got two questions really. What are the highlights, and are any of the things we discussed last week in there? For example, the brain trust.
So actually, I kind of, when I first saw it, I thought, God, they've been listening to Seesaw podcast. But about making the world more accessible, exactly where we were going. But their views are slightly different to ours. There's things on there like they want to get rid of refusals for guide dogs in public places.
Shouldn't
they want
that
to
be
host
the case
the
anyway?
2000. Well, yeah, but they're going to really work on it now. They're actioning it.
Right, sorry.
They're serious
Before it
now.
was more just of a, yeah, you should probably do that.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like,
Now
no,
they
you've got
mean
to do that.
business.
Yeah, Equality Act was only,
Yeah,
14
exactly.
years ago?
They want to have more accessible playgrounds, host the 2031 Special Olympics. They want more disabled people in politics, so there's going to be a special fund that people can access for that. So maybe that's a bit like what we were getting at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the Special Olympics and the Paralympics?
Yeah, Special Olympics is purely for those with a learning disability.
Oh, okay. Every day's a school day.
And it's more like one where everyone gets a medal at that. Special Olympics, more taking part that counts.
That's. Oh, you know what?
We don't have time to go into
Just
that.
bypass that. Anyway.
We don't have time to go into that.
Okay.
Oh, well, it
But yeah,
sounds
it's
interesting.
interesting. So it is. I've looked at a couple of responses from charities on Twitter just before we came on, or X as it's now known. They seem to be pleased that the government is willing to take action. But they said it's, they've given 6 to 12 months timelines on these things, and the proof will be in the pudding whether the actions become reality. But of course, they're also a little bit disappointed that they've not taken into consideration the cost of living crisis and benefits and how disabled people were hardest hit, etc., etc.
I was literally going to say, next week will be great because we can take all the woeful comments that the disabled people throw at them, like in the various, on X or YouTube or wherever else it's released, and then we got extra material. Thanks, government.
Yep.
See you next week for Access All Areas, the review.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Look, like you said, Selina, it's going to be proof in the pudding. Like the fact that they're only really acknowledging that they should be enforcing legislation that's 14 years old, like now, is concerning. And going on to what we're going to be talking about today, I think the UK Gov has got a few mixed messages at the moment.
Also, if we do this topic next week, because you've mentioned pudding so much, I'd like you both to think of what you think is the most disabled pudding for next week.
Okay.
Disabled pudding. Okay. Challenge accepted.
Okay, I have a couple of ideas, but I'm gonna keep them close to my chest and my thighs because, as we know, Selina likes to pounce on my ideas.
You're the one that took the
I've got
doctor one
ideas
from
as
last
well.
week.
I like this.
From the other week.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else got QBN?
No.
Perfect.
We'll need all the time we can for this.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
I know you can't wait for this, Selina.
Settle in, campers.
Settling it in. Yes.
These are my favorite kind of topics where just shit could hit the fan. All right.
Okay, so we do have a bit of an article which we're going to have our returning extra co-host Esteban read. But before we go into it, a very quick overview. It's come out of the woodwork that the DWP, Department of Work and Pensions, department of the UK government, are proposing, it's hard to say how far along this is, but the proposition is that they want to be able to look into disabled people's bank accounts to see if they are spending their benefits on what they think they should be spending their benefits on.
Sweet. All right. Read the article, man. It's a bit long. We might cut it down for the podcast.
Yep. But for those on Twitch, buckle in and listen to the sultry tones of Esteban.
By John Pring. New powers that would allow the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, to snoop on the bank accounts of benefit claimants would treat disabled people like criminals and further destroy trust, say campaigners. They spoke out this week against measures in the Data Protection and Digital Information Bill, which will give DWP powers to force banks to scan all their accounts to find those receiving benefits, and people connected with those accounts. They will then have to report anyone who triggers what are seen as potential indicators of fraud to DWP. These powers, which equals are likely to involve the use of artificial intelligence by DWP equals, would allow the department to see how benefit recipients are spending their money. Under current rules, DWP can only request details of a bank account holder's transactions if there are reasonable grounds to suspect them of fraud. Opposition to the new powers is growing, with a petition set up by a disabled woman having secured nearly 80,000 signatures. Mandy Asterisk, who set up the petition, said the threatened new powers had left her anxious and worried about what the DWP will be allowed to do with the information they gain from scrutinizing our bank accounts. She said, "I fear that if they do not approve of my spending, that they will take my benefits away, or will cut it when they see I am able to save a little. Because they are giving me more than just the necessaries." She receives personal independence payment and is in the Employment and Support Allowance Support Group. She said, Genuine claimants should have nothing to fear from the DWP. But we are kept in a constant state of anxiety because the system wants us that way. We are dragged in for assessments. We are expected to fill in reams and reams of paperwork. We have to fight and fight for what we are, by law, entitled to. This further intrusion into our privacy, when we are already struggling with the effects of our disabilities, is cruel and unnecessary. Disabled people's organizations are working with the civil liberties campaign organization Big Brother Watch to fight the government's proposals. Big Brother Watch has warned that the potential for expansive surveillance, high rates of error, and disproportionate impact on people in vulnerable positions is huge. Linda Burnip, co-founder of Disabled People Against Cuts, said, "Disabled people shouldn't be treated like criminals and have every single expenditure they make monitored by DWP. Although many of us are used to having to justify direct payments spending every few months to social services." Ken Butler, Welfare Rights and Policy Advisor for Disability Rights UK, said, "The search criteria are likely being drawn up by automated and secret algorithms with the concern that inherent bias could result in disabled people being disproportionately targeted. All this happening without any prior evidence that any of those then targeted may have been engaged in fraud. But there now is a danger that being caught up in any subsequent artificial intelligence investigations could result in mental distress and physical harm of disabled claimants. The DWP has repeatedly acknowledged in recent years that it badly needs to build the trust of benefit claimants. Secret surveillance of their bank accounts with no cause is a way to destroy this. House of Commons Chairman for Work and Pensions said the proposal in the bill is for surveillance where there is absolutely no suspicion at all, which is a substantial expansion of the state's powers to intrude. He added, "The amendment gives the government extremely broad powers, with no checks in place, and it has been done in a way that minimizes parliamentary scrutiny of what is proposed." Sir John Whittingdale said it would enable DWP to identify fraudulent benefit claims and, as a result, will save the taxpayer a significant amount of money. Estimated saving of £500 million by the end of 2028 to 29. The bill has now reached its committee stage for detailed examination.
Finally, it's over.
Wow. Yes.
Long.
So that is a very long, and that is a bit like with bits cut out. The original article, when I listened to it, when you take the ads at the end out of it, must have been around 7 or 8 minutes. So quite a lot to digest here.
The original article can be found at Disability News Service.
Yes. Links in the show notes. I won't be in the chat because I'm not juggling all of this.
All right.
So this obviously is a very controversial thing.
Yes.
Where do we start
Got
with
so much to
this?
say. Come on, come on.
All right. I'm going to
Get
start with my
into it.
notes. So my original thing is, it says,
Okay.
DWP already have powers to do this for those that are suspected of fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Does this give them too much power? Effectively just to spy on disabled people.
Yes. I would say
Look,
that this...
I want to come to the comment first, though. No. Like it's not just disabled people. This article makes out it is just disabled people. This new rule is for any benefit claimant. So it's not just disabled people. It's people that claim pensions, people that claim universal credit, they're on low incomes. I don't know why they just think it's being victimized when they're not. Any benefit claimant is possibly going to be under surveillance.
An article like this just pours in engagement.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, that's a very fair point, Selina. And that will just give us the context going forwards. So I think it's a very tricky one. As always, I will say it's a tricky one. I don't feel as though there's any grounds for them to do this, or there shouldn't be any grounds for them to do it. Like, there's already policies in place, like you said, Cleaves, for when they think there's a fraudulent claim to go down that avenue and then investigate then. This is broadening it out to the point where they can just check on anyone. And that is a huge data, and civil liberties concern.
The argument's going to be made, we're giving you free money, so sign up if you want it.
Mhm.
that's true. But then if we were to use pensions as a example, pensions are very much based on your national insurance contribution, that sort of thing. These are people who have contributed their entire lives. Have they not already put into a system to basically be just left alone?
What, pensioners?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, but okay, that is it doing it for pensioners as well? This is for benefits claimants.
Let's count this
Yeah.
as a benefit.
Yeah, state pension is a benefit. So yeah, it includes them as well. But I mean,
I
this
imagine
article
they-
doesn't touch on that at all.
Yeah, I imagine they're not going to be bothered about pensions, are they? Because that's just a rite of passage. You just get that no matter what. There's no criteria for it, is there?
Yeah, it's not
not means tested in any way.
True,
state
but who's to say what
pension.
this AI is looking at, like the algorithm that it's looking at?
Well, this is the new thing, isn't it, as well? This says potentially it'll be done by AI, and will there be big errors there?
Yes. I can say that.
Possibly at first, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta
There
learn,
might
haven't
be
it?
some. Yeah. Yeah.
There's definitely going to be errors. We've seen that with every implementation of benefits assessment ever. I look at PIP and the complete farce that was when it started to roll out, and it took years for them to actually make it somewhat better, but there's still a lot of issues with it.
The point they're making is this AI technology could potentially save money in the long run.
But how much is the AI technology costing?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saving per year, but it's going to be a one-off cost for the AI, isn't it?
In theory.
There'll be maintenance involved, admittedly.
Hmm.
But by what was it, 2029, they say they'll be saving 500 mil a year.
Yep.
So that would
Yeah.
imply that they've recuperated the original cost of the AI.
Yeah.
And if it's a one scenario,
And that's a
fits
lot
all,
of serving.
yeah.
Yeah.
Think of where that 500 mil could go. NHS staff.
Mhm.
That's true. I've got a note here. The government already has systems to get around fraud. It's called the application system. Is this an admission that the government's current systems for people actually claiming and getting to the point where you get a letter that says what you get is insufficient to weed out those who are trying to manipulate the system? And is this just not stacking something on the end to try and cover the fact that the government's current systems are inadequate for what they need?
I didn't think about that, but yes. I would say yes.
Fraud wouldn't happen if the benefit
Mhm.
systems were stringent as they should have been with applications. You won't need this because everyone would be getting
But
what
you
they
do need it. No. Because it's not just for the applications. It's once you can only be entitled to some benefits if you have less than like £16,000 savings, or there is like a savings limit. So for
Hmm.
those that exceed that limit, you can't track that in the application process. If they're saving up their benefits and not using them for their daily essentials for what they should be, then should that money be returned? It's not
That's-
money just to stack up for to save.
That's broadening it out, isn't it, to everyone on benefits as well, as opposed to just
Mhm.
disability
Yeah.
benefits. But
Yeah.
on T's point, the application for whether you get any kind of disability benefit, if that was better in the first place, then disabled people wouldn't need to be monitored with this.
Yeah, they could be excluded completely. I agree, Selina. Like for other benefits, like if they are just doing cash in hand work, that sort of thing, and they are just saving the benefits and making some bank on the side, I think yes, absolutely, this is something that should be used to crack down on that. But I think, especially with disability, if you go down the application, the interviews, all of that sort of stuff, and especially for individuals whose conditions are not getting better, as per like professional, like medical professionals saying, well, your arms aren't growing back, your eyes aren't growing back. I think if you've gone through all those hoops, you should be completely exempt from this, because at that point they've given you what they think that you need based on the application and the interview and everything like that you have to do with PIP.
No, but PIP isn't means tested. This
Sure
wouldn't
is.
actually affect people on PIP. No.
It's totally
PIP's
means
not means
tested.
tested. Anybody.
You're
No,
filling
it's
you're
not.
filling a little
Prove it.
application form. You have to fill in an application form.
Yeah,
You
but
get
it doesn't.
points deducted. You get someone to come round and assess you as well,
Yeah,
normally
yeah.
in person.
But
What do you
I mean,
what do you define as
financially
me
means
tested?
tested.
Oh,
No.
financially, okay, fine.
Financially means tested. It's not nothing. It doesn't matter how much money is in your bank account if you just
Yeah.
claim PIP.
But
If you claim ESA, then that's a different story.
yeah, I get that. And yeah, okay, fine. This is what I mean. It's broadening it out to other benefits. But if you just take PIP, that is tested at the time of applying. So
Yeah.
in theory,
Yeah.
if that process was foolproof, then you wouldn't need to necessarily look at people who are
No,
claiming
and
that
they probably
specific
wouldn't.
benefit.
They
Yeah.
probably wouldn't.
But
That's what I mean.
But you could say the same with ESA, which is, you have disabled people on ESA.
Yeah.
And if the
That's
application is as stringent as it should be, then why would you need to check on them?
because they're gonna if they start saving their money, employment support allowance is supposed to support you to live your day-to-day life. It's not there to support you to save and save and save and not use that money for what it's needed for. It's not there to be going on your £3,000 Travelise or seeable holidays every year. It's there to make you help you pay your bills.
So effectively, what you're saying is, if you start to, if you come close or start to get over the threshold, then it's probably quite good.
Yeah.
That actually leads me on to Mandy Asterix. Not an official last name, but what Mandy Asterix has put down in this particular article, or what's quoted, is that they get PIP and are on the employment support allowance and is in the employment support group. So I had to look that up. But what that effectively means is, according to the government, that person can't currently work and are not expected to work in the future. That's what that particular ESA thing means. But they're obviously getting PIP as well. Look, I'll say right now, we don't know the situation. We don't know the disability. I'd argue if you can rally round on social media and various other places and get 80,000 signatures, there's probably a job out there for you somewhere. However, this is the other thing, right? They said, "Oh, I put a bit aside each month." This is why I came back to that after what you'd said, Selina. Benefits aren't there for you to save money. No. It's not the taxpayer's job for you to have a cushy life. It's for them to... This is why I think it's controversial, but the benefits are there for you to live an adequate life, effectively, and pay for everything that you need, house, bills, that sort of thing. If you're deemed not to be able to do it, which also comes back to T's point on if the PIP is what's being overpaid, have they made the assessment correctly? It's not there for you to save money.
True, but can I throw a spanner in the works here? You
can try.
I will say that I agree, but incomes fluctuate based on circumstances, time of year. Energy is still extremely expensive, so what they might be spending all of it in these months for heating, electricity, that sort of thing. But then when it gets warmer, they might have that little bit extra left over. Are we expecting them to just blow that up the wall, or should they be saving that for potentially when it gets colder again? Because we do know that disabled people are struggling to pay energy bills.
But that article says that person is saving more than just the necessities, because it pays more than just the necessities. Is what they've put in the article.
But who's making the decision on what the necessities are?
Look, all I'm saying is they've got additional money going. Whether that's through ESA or through PIP, it's going to be a struggle to define that. What they spend the money on, also going to be a struggle to define that. Even with AI and this new system, still going to be ridiculously difficult to find out, I would argue. Yeah. And perhaps where that's the errors are going to occur.
Yeah.
It's almost a separate issue. Should you be getting additional money?
I think it is. I think that is another issue. Whether we should all be on the blanket system of like you get this much or you get this much. Like with PIP, you got the various levels. Whether that is relevant to all of the individuals who are claiming. Like I would debatably say absolutely not. Some people might require more because they have more complex needs. Some might require a lot less. But like I said, who's the one who's determining what is necessary? Because you don't just want people to be living on the breadline. Like you don't want poverty to be as a result of this. But then how much?
They're not suggesting that.
But if you were only giving them what was deemed as the essentials,
But
like
they're
what,
not. But you're allowed to save up to £16,000 if you're on ESA before they will start to cut your benefit. I think it might be 6,000 for universal credit, but don't quote me on that. I think that is a bit lower. But you are allowed some savings. It's not the government aren't saying you aren't allowed to save at all. They're just saying you're not allowed to save a stupid amount.
The thing is, £16,000 a deposit on a small flat.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, getting the mortgage might be tricky.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, I revoke my comments.
Yeah. Okay, I do get it. Like I do concede the points that you're saying, Selina. I do. But at some point, a line will be drawn, especially when you're using this AI. How is this going to make how's it going to make the decisions based on what is okay? So, what are the parameters for fraud here?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, never really explicitly defined, is it?
No, is it because they go to the pub twice a week? Is it because they're saving more than £16,000? In which case, the ESA process should be there to catch that.
That one's an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, that is an easy one.
Hmm.
But ESA can be doing that. Like that can be done through like ESA instead of like blanketing it out over all benefits.
Well, it's all means tested benefits, which universal credit, ESA, they're all means tested. I don't really see if you're doing it right and following the rules, why are you concerned?
Good question. That was going to be my other thing about Mandy Asterix. Apparently living in anxiety all the time.
I mean, what have you got to be afraid of?
If you can raise 80,000 signatures, I feel like I'm being a right arsehole going in on this person here. But like, if you can raise 80,000 signatures, you've clearly got some written communicative skills, which means, you can get some sort of writing job or admin job or something like that. Again, don't know the situation. Maybe I'll hold that. But it feels like from the text that I've got in front of me that they can at least do some things, whether it's on a computer or whatever. So are they in the right job grouping, if you like? And also, do they secretly know that maybe they're getting too much? I mean, if they've got money to save and they're anxious about it, I'm thinking, I'm not saying it's an admission of guilt.
No.
But I am swaying towards
But they
that.
didn't want their surname published.
Yeah, I know, right?
They didn't want their surname published. That's why
true.
their asterisk is what the asterisk links to.
Yeah,
is they don't want to be identified.
True. And we have, in a previous episode, we have worked out that you can make a lot as a disabled person, like let's say being a blinky, for example. If you're in like a council property, like a 1-bedroom flat, they'll pay for your rent, they'll pay your council tax, then you get your PIP on top, then you get some ESA on top. And after, you consider that that's their council tax and their rent, two of the biggest financial outgoings of anyone in the country, any household. A lot of people would love to have that amount of money left over at the end of the month. A lot of people don't. And we're talking over £1,000 after a lot of their stuff has been handled.
I think that's, I'm not sure you can quote that.
Well, a high rate PIP on both, 700. And ESA, I'm not sure the rate on that, but when I knew about
probably
it,
at least another 700. Let's say at least another 700. So about at least £1,400, £1,500 you're getting on PIP and ESA if you're in this, you
And
know,
you're
You're not
paying
really
whatever
getting
bracket.
all of
but
that, are you? If it's going towards your housing costs and bills and that kind of stuff.
Well, no, because
but
like,
it's if you're in a council, your rent's covered and your council tax is covered. So
Yeah, I
you've
imagine
just
your
got
ESA
your
wouldn't be as
bills.
high though, would it? If that was the case.
well, it'd be base rate, won't it?
Yeah, I
What?
think it
It'd
is.
be base rate. They don't
Yeah.
have multiple rates. You either get it or you don't get it. So it's not based on that. You'll get it if you're in a council flat or if you have a £500,000 house. You'll get the same rate.
Yeah.
Why the fuck am I working?
That's a question that I
Yeah,
ask
exactly.
often. Yeah,
Other than the
This is
self-respect.
the thing.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And with such high amounts of money that I can't entirely blame some people for not wanting to work. Because I don't have that money after all of my commitments. I don't have that left in the account after my paycheck. Nowhere close.
yeah, but what are you gonna do with your days?
Well, that's just it.
Sit around bitch on the internet?
Yeah, I guess so. So going back to the article, I think the concern here as well is this is quite a broad change that's been made. It's giving a lot of power, and what wasn't mentioned there in the unabridged version, this change was tagged on at the end of around 100 other changes to this legislation. And this change was added, this addition, not too long before it went to the House of Commons to then go to committee. So there's criticism that there hasn't been enough time to scrutinize and go through this to make sure that the powers that would be bestowed would be appropriate or if they're relevant to the situation, because it was pushed in very late. And then, there's a cliche of like, if you want a bill, like if you want something that's quite niche passed into legislation, attach it to a very popular bill, and then you can get it pushed through. And that does happen. I can't say any examples off the top of my head, but from my degree days, I know that is something that does happen. And I think that's where we have the danger there, because we don't know how much power would be granted to the DWP for this. Can they start scrutinizing PIP? And like really going on those people who are claiming PIP to see where all the money goes? Because ultimately, how do you define that? Because with disability, you've got so much nuance, haven't you? Like, it's not going to say care payment in your bank account necessarily, or mobility payment when you're paying out for things.
Do you even have the right to moan? You get free money that other people have paid for you to be effectively disabled. And that sounds really fucking harsh. I get that.
Yeah.
But like, it's people that are working that are effectively paying for disabled people's benefits. Can you really moan if someone's looking into your finances? Here's another thing, right? I bet 1 billion different media companies and just corporate companies already know your fucking details anyway.
Yeah.
Everything's listening. Your phone's listening. Alexa's listening. Don't matter. Why is this one extra one all of a sudden worse? Because it's the government.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you could say that no one should have access to your information. And there are laws about organizations having access, like that does get changed, Data Protection Act and things like that. And not being auto-subscribed to newsletters and things. There are things in place, whether they're sufficient or not is up for debate. I don't think they are.
I know, but if I asked you the question, right? If I said to you, I'm going to give you 10 quid, but you have to spend it on 2 Big Macs.
Right.
Do you think I have the right to know whether you spent my £10 on 2 Big Macs?
Well,
because
is
I
there a-
want to know. If I'm giving you that £10, I want to make sure you spent it where I told you you're spending it.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But, and here's something else that should a government have this ability because of, fascism, potentially? We don't know what they're going to do with the data. They're having more power than potentially they should do. It is a bit of a fascist state, some might say. Yeah, you could make that argument that it does take away freedom from people.
Well, your freedom is you don't have to apply for PIP.
True. But also, let's say you did have this check done and you were completely above board.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have the rights to see what you're spending your day to day on? Or is that your life? Is that your private life? Because they'll have access to everything.
That is a good question.
Do you want to know how many takeaways you get? How much you spend on clothes? Like all of this sort of stuff.
It's just AI that's looking. It's not a real person that's looking.
Yeah, no,
Well,
but that's got to go back to a real person, effectively, hasn't it?
to be signed off.
Only
Yeah.
if there's red flags.
But what are the red flags? That's the thing.
How does AI? Yeah, how does AI know this?
Yep. And that's the problem. It's
Where does it
But
end?
you know when you get credit checked for like a mortgage?
Yep.
They see all your details then of what you're spending. What's the difference? You share that information in order to get a mortgage or a credit card or a loan of whatever type.
true.
It's fair to
But-
say some people won't get any of those things if they're on benefits only.
Yeah. That's true. But I know what you're saying, but you're opting in for that check to be done because there's a
I would argue
potential
you're opting in.
contract. Yeah, you're opting into something because you want something out of that arrangement.
Yeah.
And
Exactly
you're
the
foregoing
same
your
thing.
privacy.
Yeah.
This is
it's the same
exactly
with
the
PIP,
same
innit?
thing.
True, but the government, let's be fair, might not always have the best intentions. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Those
They need
multi-global
to save
companies
money.
also have your best intentions at heart.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Also, isn't it a bit ironic that with all the scandals of fraud made by members of parliament when it comes to their expenses, that they are now wanting to see the lifestyles and the spending habits of other people?
Not if they become under it as well.
That's
Hmm.
true, but I don't see them
I-
passing any bill that means that their expenses get scrutinised in like an open format where all members of the public can see them, which I think would be a good thing as elected officials.
True.
But that's not going to happen. I think because it's so broad, that's what concerns me.
But in effect, they've earned their money, right? I'm not gonna. Let's say I chose not to get PIP, right? Because that's
Mm.
my choice. I don't have to
Yeah.
apply for it.
Yeah.
If I chose
Nope.
just to work and just to get my money from my job, then they're not going to get it, are they? They're not going to see my account.
Mm.
You're
No.
if they are giving you free money that you've applied for, which you're entitled to do, and then they say, well, we want to see where it's being spent, I'm not really sure you can turn around and say no.
True, but the payment, some might argue, is in place because up until the Quitblind news earlier, and we'll see how that goes. The country is not set out for disabled people, and we need money to get around the fact that it's not accessible for us.
Right, but is it not accessible, or are a lot of people not making it accessible for them? Another question, isn't it?
Well, it is, but how do you make that differentiation, and how does an AI do that?
I couldn't tell you, man.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of unanswered questions here. And like I said, I think the broadness of the power that they might be getting is the scary thing. That's what concerns me. Yeah, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Nice quote.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's my concern. Like, I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing to hide. And if they were to do a check on me, I would be
Okay.
absolutely fine. Yeah. If that's what has to be done, then that's what has to be done. As like if it was a part of what I needed to do for my PIP, that's fine. Because as you said, Cleaves, I choose to claim that. It's something I'm entitled
Okay.
to, and I claim it.
But the government needs to save £500 million. We know this government or any government is in a lot of debt at the moment. So what's the alternative? How are they going to save that money? Tell me.
Good question.
Not be building H2 or whatever it's called.
HS2.
Making
that's it.
better business decisions at a local council level.
Yep. So then
Not
all
farming
bank-
out contracts to friends of the MPs at
Yep.
extortionate prices.
Not going for a pandemic and buying a load of PPE equipment that was not fit for use because it was a friend of an MP.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah,
I mean, if they want to make savings, they could just get rid of their incompetencies and probably save this money, if we're being completely honest.
As a final question from me, given the choice, if they said to you, you can have PIP, but we're going to want access to your bank accounts. Yes or no?
Selina, go
For
first.
PIP, yes. Yeah, for PIP, yes, fine. I've got nothing to hide in it. There's no savings limit. Like, and I've actually chosen over the years not to claim universal credit, even though I'm entitled to it, probably because it's just too complex to do. And it just, I didn't want to risk about being over the savings limits or over the limit. So to be better safe than sorry, I don't claim anything other than PIP, and probably have been doing myself out of some free money. But that's life. That's fine. I can survive. So that's the main thing.
Imagine all the sketchy offshore accounts you've got where an absolute tax haven probably making you that
Or their
back.
Swiss accounts.
Oh yeah,
Several accounts
yeah.
in the Cayman Islands and
Yeah.
various
Did
others.
you really go to Tenerife for us to see your accountant?
Yeah.
Pulled your hip flex of carrying all your money.
Go on then, you two. PIP, yes or no?
Yeah, I don't see why I could say no. If I want free money, then there's got to be some allowances there. You want to see my savings? Fine. I give up my privacy every single day when, I've got like 3 or 4 Alexas knocking about the house. Like, it's to listen to everything I do. I've got a mobile phone. Of course, everyone knows what I want to do. The payment for convenience from a corporate side is that they know everything about me. So if someone's going to give me free money, how can I complain if they know my details and everything about me? Everyone else already does anyway.
Yeah, true. And I said I would give them access.
Really?
Yeah, I would. Like, I'd completely give them access because I think that's the price you pay for the free money. I think I still have a lot of concerns about, they're looking over everyone's bank account. I think that's potentially a little bit shifty
Oh, yeah.
for a government to be able to go through everyone who is on their benefits bank accounts and see everything.
But you've got the option. You don't have to apply for benefits.
That's true, but you could always have an AI that was filtering through based on sort of like naming conventions, stuff like that on accounts, instead of scrubbing for anything. And my concern is, like, we don't know what the parameters are for this AI. And it's the government, so they'll probably get the most expensive, shittest version there is, and there'll be a colossal fuck up with it.
And that goes back to how you can save them money.
Yeah. Just like with PIP, when they outsourced it for what was it, 3 billion, 4 billion to an external company, and they completely botched it. Instead of just revising the DLA system, which was already in place, and they had the infrastructure.
Yeah, but PIP's better than DLA in the long run for us, so
Yeah,
not complaining.
Yeah, in the long run, absolutely. But for those first 5 years, it wasn't great, was it? I had to go to tribunal. And at the tribunal, they literally said, "This is a joke, right? Why are you even here?" I was like, "I don't know."
You wanted a day out.
Yeah, but literally, like, yeah, sure. So you would tell you, it's like literally, why are you here? It's like, because I was told I'm not getting anything, and I had to give my car back, and I was there with my guide dog and stuff, and they're like, "Come back in 5 minutes." I went back in, and it was like a head teacher and a couple of doctors, and they went, "This is an absolute farce. Like, these things are to stop people who are fraudulently claiming. You walked in with a guide dog, for God's sake. Like, this should never have gone to this stage. Like, what was this all about?" And I was like, "I can't tell you. I've been truthful with my application." And they're like, "Right, okay, here you go." And then they were like, "Indefinite. So, like, you won't have to reapply until policy changes." I'm like, "Okay, fine, great. Would have been better if I hadn't lost my car in the meantime."
Down the back of the sofa, bro.
Yeah, that I'm still angry about that. Like, get the
Right,
car
you did
back,
that.
and then a month later, I get full pip, and I'm like, I could have kept my car, but I had to give it back because it voided the
That's
contract.
the thing. Isn't it good that they did check? Do you think that's good that they? I know it's unfortunate for you at the time and the frustration, but at least they are doing these checks.
No, it's not good, Selina. It pissed me off.
But there are going to be people out there that, you know, are faking it.
Yeah, there are going to be people out
And
there
just
who are
want a free
faking it.
car.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. What do you think at home? I mean, it is a complex topic. I think we've been a little, yeah,
We've
maybe
been all over the map.
we have been, and maybe we've gone against the grain and maybe brushed people up the wrong way. But
It's not like us.
I think these are
No.
valuable points, and we are here to balance. So, what do you think? Let us know at the various links and opportunities coming up. And yeah, if you want to support the show, yeah, go over to Twitch, give us a little follow, a little cheeky little follow, and then maybe use some of your benefits to subscribe to us on Twitch. You know, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, maybe that's not one of the red flags.
It doesn't cost to subscribe to us on Twitch.
Oh, but if well, to follow it doesn't, but to subscribe it does. But if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free, $1 free a month. So,
I don't
well,
understand the difference between following and subscribing. I don't get it.
you don't need to worry about it.
This is all
Okay.
cuttable shit anyway, so
Yeah.
shut up and fucking finish it.
So until next week, have a wonderfully balanced time. And to those of you on Twitch, thank you for joining us.
And for those of you on benefits, good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Seesaw Podcast. Your feedback and comments mean a lot to us, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so in the following ways.
You can find us on X at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com and you can stream with us live every week on Twitch at Seesaw Podcast.
Remember to like, rate, review and share with a friend.
This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.